Save today at Room to Room's President's Day sale. 55% off furniture and mattresses, 20% off accessories, and 24-month special financing. The time to act is now.
Room to Room Tupelo, where we know there's no place like your home.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 10.
We are finally at the end of the week and Friday is upon us. Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 10. I'm meteorologist Gabe and we have a fantastic end of the work week ahead, but we do have a lot to talk about here at the 10 o'clock hour before we get into the weekend forecast. So another cold start to Friday. That's one of the headlines, but those temperatures are getting better. So while it's cold, it's not as cold as what we had this morning. Full details here in just a moment. But that taste of spring, yes, spring is in the season, moving in a little bit tomorrow, but really into next week. And we'll have a full breakdown of that temperature forecast in just a moment. But that doesn't get you excited. I don't know what will. We are also talking about here on Mississippi Live Weather, a new bill that is going to help those that help. And what that means, it's a bill that helps organizations that are in the community that are aiding in storm recovery. And we're going to have that full breakdown and, of course, the announcement of it coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 10. So make sure to keep it here and you can hear more about that because there's been a lot of organizations helping this past couple of weeks in storm recovery, but this being a winter storm, but nonetheless, the community has banded together, and that has been how we've overcame and melted away those issues. The first 12, as you take a look at our forecast, we are going to dip below freezing once again. So there are still some areas that have a little bit of that ice on the ground, but fortunately very limited at this point. But that freezing temperature potentially could refreeze some spots. Not overly concerned with that though, because we're only right on that freezing point and roads should be a little bit warmer than that as we get into those early morning hours. Now, as we get towards 8 a.m., 11 a.m., you see the sunshine in the forecast warming us up nicely all the way to the low 50s by 11 a.m., and we're still getting higher from there. So, folks, a beautiful forecast is in store for our Friday, and it starts right now. 32 degrees in Crenshaw the night, dew point at 28. Now, there is very little wind, so wind chill not going to be a factor for our forecast, but temperatures already at freezing means it's cold enough. 30 degrees in Ackerman, so some areas are going to dip below that freezing point as we head overnight, but not much more change expected there towards Choctaw County. It is going to be pretty much limited, and you can kind of see why. Dew point at 30 degrees. When that dew point is at a certain number, whenever temperatures reach that number, that's the limit. We can't go below the dew point. So while dew points read 30, that's where we'll stay in Ackerman tonight. Out in Columbus, a little bit of a calmer evening out there. I mean, it is 10 o'clock on a Thursday, but usually Highway 45 is a little bit busier. Highway 82, I expect that to be filled getting into our forecast tomorrow. Folks heading to and from Starkville, whether they're heading home or heading off to some weekend plans, either way, should be a fun weekend ahead. 34 degrees Columbus, 27-degree dew point, so there is still room to cool off, and we expect it to cool off at least a few more degrees. Now, one of the things that got issued today was the drought monitor. And the drought monitor being updated from this time last week hasn't really changed too much. We still have that level 3 drought for Shelby, Clarksdale, all the way east into Batesville and Water Valley. But then that level 2 drought getting more towards northwest Calhoun County and close to the Oxford area. And the level 1 drought getting as far east as eastern Pontotoc, eastern Calhoun County, and then northern Montgomery County as well. So that line continues to gradually work its way back in, but we're still fortunate that about 50% of us here in North Mississippi are not seeing any of those drought conditions. Our Mama Justice Doppler radar shows that dry conditions continue to remain in place, so our forecast, while it's beautiful, not exactly providing any benefits to that pattern once we get into our the rest of this week. So next week's drought monitor, unfortunately, doesn't have much rainfall to go off of as of right now. But as we take a look at, of course, the extended outlook, we can see potentially, there we go. We can see on Futurecast just this ridge that moves right over the top of us. Now, a ridge usually attached to a high pressure center. And high pressure we know is much drier forecast, so that's building more into North Mississippi and also shifting those winds, meaning we're getting that northerly component that we had this morning, now a southerly component back into the forecast, and that's helping get some of that warmer air back here into North Mississippi. Friday morning, already seeing those effects along with those dry and clear skies, so looking beautiful, feeling cold, but better. And especially as we get through the day, those temperatures do get better. We do have this front that's moving into North Mississippi, however, that's going to drive a little bit of a dip in our forecast as we move into Saturday, but I said only a little dip. It's not going to be significant, and by the time we get into the rest of the week, it gets so much better. So we can handle one dip if it means that it's only up from there. And trust me, it is only up from there. 6 a.m. 32 degrees, so right at freezing. Noontime we're 59, 3 p.m. 62 degrees. And guys, I told you at 5 and 6, 62 very well might be the floor of how warm we get tomorrow afternoon. Some areas could get the upper 60s. My word, I'm excited. Great time to have it too with it being on Friday. So cannot wait to track this out with you guys here in just a moment, right here, actually in the next 60 seconds. Live here from the Room to Room Weather Center for Mississippi Live Weather at 10. Also keep it here. We're going to go over that bill in a little bit more detail that the U.S. Senate passed today. And that's big news for organizations that are trying to help out the community when those storms strike in the future. We'll have all that breakdown coming up here in the next 60 seconds.
Look at Wanda, ready to rock her big presentation. But first, lunch. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Delicious, celebratory, but is it quick? The Cobb salad. Tender oven-roasted chicken, topped with cheese. Prepared, plated, and served? In 6 minutes? Is this for real? Well, of course. Well done, Wanda. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Yes, ma'am. Life is sweet.
I have been going to Tupelo Smiles my whole life. When I was a kid, I was unhappy about some uneven coloring on my teeth after getting my braces off, which at the time there really wasn't a fix. I was recently made aware of a solution that would totally fix it, which is exactly what we did. They not only heard my concerns, but they never stopped looking to solve my problem, and that's why I love Tupelo Smiles.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
Well, we said that there was still some snow and ice on the ground in some locations in Tippah County. One of the hardest hit locations continues to see that this afternoon. This is a look up there at the Tippah County Hospital, and you can see just the mounds of snow and ice on the sides of those roadways. Fortunately, not on the roadways, but nonetheless, the fact that it's still there 13 days later is just unreal, and something that will not happen all too often here in North Mississippi, thankfully, because I don't think we ever want to experience this again. And that was, of course, my mom-in-law sending that in here to Mississippi Live Weather, so thank you for submitting that. But let's get into some more beautiful sights, because we love snow, but not exactly anymore here in North Mississippi. We want that all cleared out, so any signs of that, we want that away. But the sunsets, those can be here to stay. Linda and Amory submitting this photo. You're getting a good look at the sky on fire. I don't know how else to put it. Whenever we're talking about the sunsets that were across the area tonight, showcased a few of those at 6 o'clock, but these are some that came in after the 6 o'clock show that I still wanted to show off to you guys here in Mississippi Live Weather at 10. So I hope you guys did enjoy that sunset. Not exactly happening right now. It's just too late at night. But heading into our forecast on Friday, a beautiful sunrise should be in store. 32 degrees, Panola County, Batesville showing up with plenty of power. And what a sight that is. The fact that power is starting to show up more and more and those power outages continue to dwindle. We do expect that to see a significant impact through the weekend with the beautiful conditions that we have. So anyone that's out there that still does not have power, we are still praying for you guys, and we are hopeful that that gets restored soon, because we know how uncomfortable it can be for just a couple of hours. Nevertheless, couple of weeks at this point. 32 degrees in Amory, still a beautiful sight out there in Monroe County. Winds non-existent, like I mentioned, so wind chill not going to be a factor in this forecast, and the dry conditions, they still prevail whether it's windy or not. 30 degrees in Starkville tonight. Stark Vegas going to be a fun place to be this weekend, as of course they do have I believe it's a home game on Saturday against Arkansas. I believe that's correct. I had a notification saying, hey, buy your tickets today. We're not going, but I would love to. It's just a little bit of a drive to get down there. But nonetheless, 30 degrees should be a good time. Headed out to those cookout Thursday night runs. Love doing that on Thursday nights because it just was the fuel you needed to get through Friday. Drought monitor continues to see level 3 conditions in Shelby, Clarksdale, and just outside of Water Valley and Batesville. But level 2 drought encompassing a large portion of Yallabusha and Lafayette County, and level 1 drought extending into Tippah, Alcorn, Union, and Pontotoc County. So that line starting to shift a little bit more into the eastern part of our state, but of course, rainfall, it's not really existing right now. It's a very dry pattern that we're in, not going to allow any of that drought to be alleviated in the extended forecast. Now, one thing I do whenever the drought monitor comes out is highlight the rainfall totals over the past 7 days. And we can see in a few spots, I mean, we got an inch in Natala County, an inch there towards Holmes County, even an inch of Monroe County, Itawamba County. So, folks, we got rainfall, but in a lot of areas, especially the areas, I mean, let's go over to Shelby and Clarksdale here. Trace amounts of rainfall. That's not exactly going to be a drought buster. So while we did get rainfall, we need more of it in order for those drought, especially level 3 drought conditions to be taken away. And we're hopeful that that can happen. But this next 7-day forecast does not look exactly ideal for that to take place. The last 2 days have been a much drier pattern. So this is what's going to be factored into next week's drought monitor. And unfortunately, it's not going to be a pretty sight because with how dry it is and how beautiful it is still coming at a cost as those dry conditions are not exactly ideal for folks that are trying to get their soil right. As we take a look at our Mama Justice Doppler radar, a few flurries out there towards East Tennessee and Kentucky, not here in North Mississippi, thankfully, and we are continuing to remain on the drier side. One thing that I will look at here real quick are those temperatures. They continue to be on the colder side, but if you look right here, you can see how this ridging pattern is starting to shift right along that axis with colder air on the east side and more mild temperatures on the west side. So as this axis moves more towards the east, then we're going to get these milder temperatures moving into North Mississippi as soon as Friday afternoon. So are you ready? That's really the question that we have in play because it is going to happen once we get into our Friday afternoon forecast. Our Friday morning, though, still going to be cold with temperatures right around freezing. And as you see, I'm sorry, that was my wife saying thank you for clarifying there's not a sunset right now. Some people, hey, you might not know. So I'm sorry, that just made me laugh. So your Friday morning going to be right at freezing, still with those clear skies. So it is going to be a beautiful forecast. Still layer up, though, for that morning commute. As we keep their forecast going, you can see how that that ridging axis moves right over the top of North Mississippi. And as it does, it'll bring in that southerly wind into the forecast, and that's going to bring in those mild temperatures on our Friday. Not mild to start the day, but hey, it is a little bit warmer than what we had this morning. 31 degrees Oxford, Holly Springs, New Albany, 29 still showing up in Boonville and Red Bay, 28 Hamilton, Alabama, but 34 Greenwood, 35 Belzona, 38 Greenville. A much better picture than the low 20s we saw this morning. So we're heading in the right direction, right? Wind chill, we've been talking about it all night, how there isn't a wind chill in the area. There's not even any wind in the area. So, of course, that chill cannot happen. 32 degrees by pickup, though. That's cold enough to where we need at least 1 or 2 layers. Drop off, 62 degrees. I'm not saying it's shorts weather, but I'm not saying it's far off from it. And with the sunshine, it's going to be ideal. I told you guys earlier, make plans to get to the park. I'm hoping you're doing exactly that Friday afternoon or heading to our game of the week, which we'll get to that forecast in just a moment. Friday morning, continue to see those dry conditions overhead, not a cloud in sight, not a raindrop in sight, and those westerly breezes going to feel nice with that sunshine. As we get into the afternoon forecast, though, you do see this front that extends into North Mississippi. What this is doing, if you look on the south side of this front, westerly winds, the north side of this front, a northerly wind. Shifting those winds is allowing colder air to move into the forecast, but not for Friday. That'll be more for our Saturday story. So we'll get to that in just a moment. Let's not jump over what we're getting on Friday, and that is just phenomenally high temperatures. Not phenomenally high, but phenomenal high temperatures. 67 degrees in Bruce and Houston, 67 Starkville, Columbus, even 67 in Kosciuszko. So, my wife teaches middle school and 6-7 is a thing. So we're going to be doing this all afternoon tomorrow because that's the forecast we're getting here in North Mississippi. And as we look at our game of the week forecast, it is going to be later on into the evening. So those temperatures do start to fall. We're 49 first tip and 44 towards that final buzzer, but the beautiful conditions are not going anywhere. And honestly, 44 degrees on a early February day, not too bad of a forecast around 9 or 10 o'clock on your Friday. So we're trending in the right direction, but a little bit of a step back, basketball reference there, as we get into Saturday. But we're going to get that run going as we get into Sunday. And don't worry, we'll have all the basketball puns on your Friday night. Let's keep our future cast moving through our Friday night with those northerly winds in the forecast. While we do have those northerly winds in place, it's driving in that colder air already. But while there are breezy conditions in place, that's going to allow for a bit of a wind chill as well in our forecast. So Saturday morning, unfortunately, will start out cold, similar to Friday. But where the cold conditions come into play is with that wind chill, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. 30 in Boonville and Corinth, 30 in Bruce, 33 Starkville, and we're seeing 32 Grenada, 34 Greenwood, and Cleveland. That wind chill, like we mentioned, taking off just a couple of degrees, and that's where it'll feel in the mid to upper 20s north of Highway 6. In the southwest part of our viewing area, more low 30s, but for all of us feeling at or below freezing, which is cold enough to where we need to layer up once again for any of those Saturday plans we need to get done. As the day goes on, though, we're not really going to see much relief. Temperatures, they do warm up, but that step back that we're talking about, that's going to be taking place into our Saturday afternoon. So as we keep that futurecast moving, those winds become more of a northwest component by 9 a.m. And that's just starting to basically shift that pattern once again and move in some of the warmer air by Sunday. It takes a little bit to get there, though, so that's why Saturday continues to see those breezes out of the north for the good part of the day. But as these calm up just a bit, then we'll start to see that surge of moisture and that surge of a southerly wind into the forecast once we get more towards our Saturday night and Sunday morning, and then the good temperatures come. So Saturday, again, it's just a hiccup in our forecast we got to get over, but there is some good news beyond that forecast, and we already have good news on Friday. So this is just a forecast of positive vibes. High temperatures on your Saturday: 49 Tupelo, 48 Senatobia and Holly Springs, 51 Water Valley, 53 Belzona, Greenwood, and Louisville. So this is that brief setback before that major comeback. 60 degrees Sunday afternoon, mild days ahead, and that dry pattern does stick around, even if it's a colder day and even if it is a warmer day. But as we look at that next 7-day forecast, you can see how it is 60 degrees Sunday, and then it keeps getting warmer. 67, hey, I told you guys, this is what it all is going to be about on Monday, and then Tuesday, 69 degrees. That's where low 70s, not out of the realm of possibilities. Even by Monday, not out of the realm of possibilities. And that same pattern sticks around all the way into Wednesday. Potentially a few showers working their way into North Mississippi by midweek, but even those not going to be too impactful. And the warm air even sticks around beyond that point. So a little bit of a taste of spring, right? I'm not complaining one bit, especially after the past 2 weeks we've had. We deserve a warm forecast here in North Mississippi. So I am glad that we're getting some good news in the forecast. Let me see. I was just trying to catch up on the chat here real quick, making sure I'm not missing anything. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. I do see some folks that are talking about folks without power, and yes, just some of the areas that have been without power. We're talking for several weeks now, and that's where we have seen the highest impacts. Matt was going through Benton County and Lafayette County earlier on today, and just showing some of the damage that he was seeing just driving along the sides of the roads. And it doesn't take long for you to notice that and see why those were the highest impacted areas. And even to the hour, as I think Matt's trying to join us, even to the hour, there he is. Hey, Matt.
Hey. Sorry, I forgot to hit the button on that. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just basically talking about, the power outages that we're seeing across the area have trended much better. Several counties actually not reporting any outages, and we're definitely fortunate that is where, we have trended the past couple of days. But you were in Oxford today. They're still coming in with about 14.5% of the county without power, and even up there towards Benton County, where you're up there, that's one of the highest still impacted areas to the day, 13 days later. 46%.
And part of it is just, how I was talking to the mayor of Hickory Flat, and I don't remember if this was on camera or not. One of the things he mentioned was just how rural the county was, and how, if you go back deeply into the county's history, it was a very populated county around the Great Depression era. But then because of, some of the financial strains that happened then, so much of the land, people went bankrupt and the land went back to the government. That's part of the reason you have such a big national forest there. And so then that national forest is great, but it's difficult to convince the powers that be to trim. And so that's why you have so many trees down and then so many power outages. And it's just this cycle because, again, so many trees in that part of the area. We've all week long toured so many spots. We had a lot of trees fall in Tishomingo, Alcorn, Prentiss County. But man, I'm telling you right now, Western Union, Southern Benton, and then kind of southeastern Marshall County there, and then Lafayette County certainly have been the highest tree fall amounts from what I saw on my drive today. There were some spots that was just nonstop. So you can understand why it's just taking so long, especially in some of the rural areas there.
Well, and we're talking about, Oxford, Lafayette County, they still have not gone back to school. February 8th is when all those schools will hopefully head back, and even that might be in question because of the power outages that are still in place.
Well, I was talking to I know used to be one of the North Mississippi Storm Chasers, the principal there at Hickory Flat, and they were talking about how they are hopeful that Monday they go back. Teachers are supposed to report tomorrow, but they sent a survey out to kind of see, whether or not they can do that because so many people in the county in that area don't have don't have power. In Hickory Flat, they do, not necessarily out in some sections of the county there. So it's a tough go. I mean, there were still shadows where you still had ice on the ground up there, and that's, I mean, basically 2 weeks later in Mississippi. So it just illustrates, after 94, we warmed up very quickly. That has not been the case, here. And I think, I don't know if we mentioned it on air or not, talking to the emergency manager in Tishomingo County yesterday, she mentioned the fact that they still had some trees that were falling that, were damaged, that had, when you got any kind of wind, they were still falling and taking power lines back down. So it is this whack-a-mole. I hate that phrase, but it's true, trying to get things back on.
Well, and we talk about, all of the damage that has been done, some of those limbs just hanging as we get into the recovery mode. And so we're not even in our storm season. This is a once in a very long period of time type storm that we got. This could very well have impacts into the spring severe weather season and more limbs coming down, potentially more trees. And so that's where this is a long-term thing that it ended. I mean, the storm ended 2 weeks ago. We're still seeing the effects to this day with power outages. Even those power outages being restored could see more impacts later on from this same system.
And I wish I would have got video of Highway 30 in and out of the Oxford area today. I'm between Oxford and New Albany. There were some spots there. You get in northeastern Lafayette County, kind of western Union County there. And it's just almost nonstop. I mean, there are points where I felt like in the dark, I need to like swerve in the middle of the road still just to try to get, and this is a main, this is a main highway. This is not a back road. This is not a county road. This is a main highway, main thoroughfare. And I mean, Highway 30 all the way up there to Boonville, so I mean, it goes all the way through, and it is rough.
Well, and we've looked for positives that we can take. One positive being the forecast next week looks phenomenal. But another positive that just happened was something.
Well, you say that when talk to me about some of those storm chances there. Have you started digging into that yet?
Limited. I'm not overly sold on next week in regards to any of the rain chances. Like there's
potential. I'm not sure
for
about next week, but starting to transition beyond this, because we're not. This pattern's really active, and I don't know if we've had time to really dig into this. We go probably stormy and probably severe storms here pretty quickly.
Well, with the temperatures being where they're at, like we want the warm air, but it does destabilize the environment, especially with the changing of the season. So that opens the window of opportunity, unfortunately. So, we can see that pretty early as long as that warming trend does happen. Luckily, over the next 7, there's a limited chance of a shower here, shower there, but so far haven't seen anything that, catches my eye. As we look in the extended pattern, though, maybe into that following week, that's where we could get some of those stormy chances. Is it going to be severe? Guys, it's over a week and a half out, so there's still a lot of questions.
Let's say this. The pattern remains active enough that it wouldn't at all be shocking. I mean, it's too early to, I would say, nail down exact dates. But I think the big headline is the next weather event we have of any significance is much more likely to be severe than icy. I know there was that next round rumor that clearly was garbage, as we talked about a week ago.
Who would have guessed, right?
God, it's like the internet's driven by clicks.
Yep.
Not that we're not on the internet, but we're also trying to shoot you as straight as we can.
We're always going to be honest and truthful. What is it? Honest Abe? Well, you got Honest Gabe, so there you go.
You have not used that on your wife, have you?
I think I did, but it's only been like once because she looked at me and was like, so, we nixed that.
You're like, never mind. It's like, I promise, I'm true.
Well, I do want to say, with positives talking about the forecast, there is good news and something that personally ties to you and your involvement with the Senate and, passing a bill that's huge for heading into the storm season and even for what we just had.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and pull this up here, but and you should be able to hear Senator Chad McMahon from the Lee County area on what I think is going to be something that really could, have you already played the video yet?
I've not yet. I saw you come in, and so I'm going to let you talk about it a little bit.
Hey, well, let's go ahead and roll that footage.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, just quickly, I wanted to say for the record how much I appreciate Matt Lawhon. He is a beloved weatherman from Northeast Mississippi, and now he has a Mississippi Live Weather and has weather across the state. And he brought this to me. He called me this summer and brought this bill to my attention that some of our neighboring states had passed it. I want to thank the chairman of Judd A and all the work of the senators on Judd A who brought this forward. This is an opportunity for our charitable and church organizations across the state that when we have these weather events, they can open up their facilities and provide shelter and care for many folks in these emergency events without fear of being sued. And so I want to thank this body and particularly, again, the senators on Judd A for bringing this forward, and I yield.
Thank you, Senator McMahon. Okay, Senator Wiggins has suggested the use of morning roll call for final passage. Any senator object? Any senator wish to be recorded as voting no? Seeing none, please record all present by use of morning roll call as voting aye, and the bill has passed.
I was going to try to bring it back where I was full on screen, but it looks like my little gizmo here is not working. So give me just a second. I know what we need to do. Hold on a second. So I'm going to bring on that bill behind me here for a moment. And basically what this does is charitable organizations, think churches, for example. Churches have lots of facilities. And one of the things I think sometimes holds churches back from utilizing those facilities is the fact that, if something bad happens, they could be sued, right? And we live in such a litigious society where people sue for anything and everything, right? This bill, when it goes into effect in July, will effectively protect those charitable organizations from litigation if they're opening them up for major weather events. And think, for example, like a tornado. A church has a basement. That basement could be a shelter. They have resisted opening it for a shelter because what happens if it gets hit by a tornado and the church falls down on top of it? Do they get sued by a bunch of people? It's sad we live in a society where we have to have that concern. This bill proposed, I talked to Senator McMahon about it this last summer. Right after we started Mississippi Live, he called to congratulate me, and I said, the thing that I want to talk about is this bill, and he got it together so that it will protect these charitable organizations. Tornadoes, what I was thinking of. But Gabe, I think one of the other factors, one of the other ways in which this can be, utilized is for kind of like what we've just gone through with an ice storm, for example. If a church opens up their facility to, allow people to stay there as a shelter, there are certain things that have to fall into place. And one of those, you have to be concerned about the fact, do we have, are we going to get sued for some reason or another? This protects them from that as long as they're making, reasonable efforts. So I think it's going to be a great way to expand the number of shelters we have here across North Mississippi to protect people in severe weather. And I think that's important because our shelters in some cases have gotten very packed. And so these church basements, while maybe not as good as, say, if you were getting into one of these reinforced domes, are a whole lot better than sitting at your house in a place that's unprotected. So congrats to Senator McMahon for getting this done. It was an idea. I'll be perfectly honest. I saw it come across up in Tennessee a couple years back. And then, when I had that opportunity to talk to the senator earlier this year, that's what we talked about. So, or I guess that'd been last year. So I'm very, very thankful that he went through the effort to find a way to get it put together, got it submitted, and it passed unanimously today. So very, very proud of that. We didn't get Bluebell ice cream on Weather Person's Day, but I think we got something better, which was we get to protect more people here in North Mississippi.
Hey, it's not the only good idea coming out of Tennessee that we were able to utilize here at Mississippi Live Weather, huh?
Oh, that's true. Tennessee Valley weather. Hadn't thought about that.
Exactly.
You're right. That's
good old Rocky Top. Good things come from it, I guess.
Don't you say that on these airwaves. I'm thankful to them for helping us out, but don't go too crazy.
You're right. You're right. It felt kind of icky coming out of my mouth. What can I say? But Matt, that's huge, and we are excited heading into severe weather season that is an opportunity. I wasn't even thinking about, the conservative nature of not opening it up and the potential of a lawsuit coming. Now there's that availability. That definitely changes the game, changes the whole horizon in severe weather. And honestly, there's no excuse whenever we're talking about severe weather of not getting to your safe place and getting that plan in place now. So this just adds another tool.
And it can be a more comfortable location, you know. It's just I think in so many different ways it has the potential to save more lives, and it allows, you know, good Samaritans, the idea of taking care of our neighbors, something that our churches naturally want to do, but then still have to protect themselves from. That's one less barrier to them opening up in these severe weather situations. I know there's a number of churches around here that will probably take advantage of that. We're excited.
For sure. And just another layer that we can add to our protection heading into this new season. And I believe Severe Weather Preparedness Week is not too far away, and we'll just, you know,
it's next week, isn't it?
Is it next week? I knew it was close.
Hold on. I have it on my phone. Give me 2 seconds here to go back and look. Right there. It is next week here in Mississippi. So hopefully we are getting geared up for that. I know it seems crazy, a power outage just from a winter storm behind you, but that's the way it works around here. It's either winter storm or it is severe weather, and I think we've tilted that direction pretty quickly.
Well, at this rate, we might need to add a winter storm preparedness week as we get into December or something.
There's not a whole lot you can do to prepare to be out of power for weeks. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, they do the fall severe weather preparedness week. But I mean, you know, the kits and everything, they only go so far in this. And so our prayers for those folks still out of power.
For sure. Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on, joining us at 10 o'clock. And I do hope that you have a fantastic night over there. And I know you will be at our game of the week getting into Friday night. That is going to be over there at West Lowndes. They're taking on Ingomar. Let me go ahead and pull that graphic up one more time so we can highlight it once again. But this is going to be our game of the week, and it should be a great matchup. I believe it is the boys this week. So going to see that matchup at 7 o'clock on Friday, again in Columbus, Mississippi. So if you don't have plans already to take advantage of this good forecast, then there's your option. 49 degrees first tip, 44 towards that final buzzer. Going to be a great time. Matt will be there going over some of the pregame coverage with our Ethan Foster, our sports expert, and he will provide that detail and also give us those highlights at 10 o'clock on your Friday night. So can't wait to provide that to you guys. Hope that you do join us as we get into our Friday forecast. And a big thank you to the folks at Langston & Lott for providing this opportunity. Once again, always look forward to game of the week, whether it's football or basketball or pretty soon, potentially baseball, getting into later on in the spring season. But nonetheless, we're excited. Thank you again, Langston & Lott, and we're excited for sure. All right, it's late, guys. We got to get to bed at some point. So go ahead and download that Mississippi Live Weather app if you have not already. That's the last thing on the to-do list tonight before you head to bed. iOS and Android, if you scan the QR codes on your screen, going to set you up for success, whether it's a calm day like tomorrow or a more severe forecast, hopefully not anytime soon, but potentially in that extended forecast. This provides you the updates that you need to stay prepared and stay ahead of the storm and add another layer to that protection, as we were talking about just a moment ago. It also allows you to tune into our broadcast. Our next one's going to be at 6:30, 7, and 7:30 with meteorologist Maggie McCauley. Can't wait to see you guys there bright and early with a cup of coffee in hand, enjoying the end of the work week. And she has a great weekend forecast ahead as well. All those latest details coming up live here from the Room to Room Weather Center. You guys have a fantastic Friday ahead, and we'll see you bright and early.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lawpon has proven himself trustworthy